I can't remember how long we were dating, but it wasn't long. Let's just say that. It wasn't long, but Connor's like...
Probably a couple weeks.
Hey, really?
He goes, like 2 or 3 weeks.
I really, one day, would love to plant a church. And I'm obviously like, if I'm going to be married, like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm out. Like, I'm out on that.
Yeah.
I literally looked him dead in the eyes. Like, I will never plant a church. I don't want to be like a lead pastor of anything. And we like broke up.
Wait, for real?
Oh, yeah.
For real.
I was like, then I don't want to be with you.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Young Adult Podcast. We got the Grims.
What's up?
Aaron, you're going to make a noise?
Well, actually, I didn't like the name Grim at first when Connor and I were dating, because if something's grim, it's like not good, you know? So I would think like Aaron Grim, that sounds Aaron bad. So when people are like the Grims, I still think like the bad people.
You picture like the Grim Reaper
I
just
do.
like standing
But
in
my brother's Grim or whatever it is.
Everybody in
Yeah, it's like
when
real
I played
original.
sports, like in high school and college, we're like, I know a nickname for you, the Grim Reaper. And I'm like, dude, you must have really thought long and hard about that one. Like, dear Lord, it's the least original thing in the world. But I'm not kidding you. Like any new coach, or like I would go from like JV to varsity or middle school to high school, they'd be like, I got a nickname for you. And I'm like, let me guess.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Yeah.
Mine would be like they'd pick a different Spanish-speaking country as my last name. They'd be like, Casey Guatemala, am I right? I'm like, no,
okay.
you're so stupid.
Yeah, okay.
Aaron,
I heard
any
it before.
nicknames for you?
I do. I don't know if I can say it on the Young Adult Podcast, but my maiden name, I'm just going to say it. My maiden name is Sandoval, so they would call me...
People can put it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the boys thought they were rich, and I was like, okay.
She played volleyball, specifically like sometimes volleyball in sand. So Sandoval, Sandy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can piece it together.
I can't. Casey just pieced it together.
I wasn't getting it.
I know.
You both were on the same page, and I was like, wait, I'm not in this joke. Okay, great. All right, sweet. Well, before we dive in, Aaron has our icebreaker combo for the day in light of what's going on in your life.
All right, guys. So here's the topic today. Not the full topic, but it's how much do you feel like is an appropriate amount to spend on your dog? And what I mean by that is like, oh, something medical happened to them and they need some sort of assistance, or I don't know. So what do you think? We're in the throes of it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when like everything breaks at the same time.
Yes.
That's like happening to us, including our dog. Like our house plumbing, my car, our dog, like just all of it is breaking all at one time. I would say before kids, I would maybe have $1,000 to $1,500 max. Like if my dog is 3 years old and I know they've got a potential for a long life ahead of them, and something tragic happens, but the doctor's like, if you spend $1,350, like your dog's going to live to be 10, 12 years old, whatever.
But they can't actually say that. That's
I
the
know,
problem with spending that much money on a dog is like,
they could die.
They could die.
Now that we have kids, it's tough because Mac is our oldest daughter's like, they're best friends. He listens to her more than he listens to Aaron.
Oh my gosh.
Like genuinely.
So we had a thing where I had to take Matt to the animal hospital today. Mac,
Not Matt. Yes.
Yes.
Mac.
We had a thing where we had to take Mac to the hospital. He's going to be fine, whatever. But it was $500. And so that...
On top of the plumber that was in our house all morning.
Nice.
But here's how I felt. Here's
link.
how I felt
Seriously,
better.
Please.
This is what made me feel better about it. If I just shifted my mindset to be like, this isn't me spending $500 on a dog. This is me spending $500 on my daughter's best friend.
No.
And then I was like, this is I'm saving money.
Yeah, because she like
You're definitely
Disney,
not saving money.
Disney trip. Oh, we're just not going to go to this is your Disney trip.
Yeah.
Like of your childhood.
Of everyday life.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't spend more than $2,000.
Yeah, $2,000? That's a lot.
Okay, here's a question. No, I said $1,500. Again, if it's like, this sounds horrible. We sound like horrible. I might sound like a horrible person. If they're like, hey, your dog has cancer and it's going to be $2,000 to do surgery, and honestly, there's a good chance the cancer is going to come back, I might be like,
Yeah, we're out.
hey, love you. Like, I hope you enjoyed your life. But if there is like
a broken leg that maybe they need to
Yeah,
like cast,
yes,
or
yes.
it's a thing that's
Like,
not
if
going to like
there's-
return.
Yes,
Yes.
if there's if like me paying this money will ensure they have a good quality of life and like they still have a lot of life ahead of them. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, Mac, I love you. When he's like 10 or 11 and they're like, oh, he's got this,
Yeah. No.
the budget goes down. You
He's
know,
out.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Because at that point, you have to think, well, are we going to get another dog?
Oh my
dude, if PETA gets a hold of this,
Sponsored by PETA.
yeah.
That's our sponsor.
That's our sponsor of the day.
Oh, a Sarah
angel.
McLachlan. Well, that leads us to our topic. Do animals go to heaven? We're going to be talking. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay,
Hey, Connor
so
has thoughts on that.
last. Okay, I know this is like really dumb, but in line with spending money on a dog, is it a $2,000 max out of pocket, or is it a $2,000 per event max?
What's the difference?
So, like, if
I'm
you're-
talking like, how much would you spend at one time? Because we spent more than $2,000 on our
But
dog.
what I'm saying is like, what do you think your max out of pocket is?
That's what I thought
Keep
we
your
were
dog
saying.
alive.
No, I thought you were saying like if you go to the doctor and they're like it's $1,500, but whatever. I'm talking about like
Like if you had insurance.
no. Like if people who are listening will understand what I'm saying. Like essentially what like lifetime money spent. Like is that $2,000 like, hey,
Yeah.
once I spend this, there's no more, or is it like $2,000 per event?
Per event. But you can't be having those like back to back to back. You know, you got to
Yeah.
reassess.
I don't know, guys. There's a reason I don't have
It's
an
looking
animal.
really grim,
I
ladies and
make
gentlemen.
I make my money by watching other people's dogs.
Yeah, that's
my
better.
side hustle.
Yeah.
I know.
Then
but
you
if
get your
I-
dog fixed. You get paid. You're not responsible
Yeah.
beyond your
Yeah.
commitment.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, I have to go on a vacation. Who's gonna watch my dog? Me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make that money you're spending watching your dog.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, sweet. Well, let's dive into our topic. Everyone listening to this knows if you are at YA, the Grimms are leaving us. I'm just kidding. That's so sad. The Grimms are leaving to go plant a church.
We are.
And it's really exciting for them and sad for us, but also exciting for us because we can go visit them. And it's going to be great. But this podcast is going to be talking about 10 years at Red Rocks Church in ministry here. We're going to talk about things you guys have learned over those 10 years about ministry, about yourselves, about God, about young adults, because you guys have been specifically in young adults for like all of those 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also just a deeper dive into what's next, because I know with that announcement, there's no way you can say everything when it comes to like why we are doing this. What does it look like to like decide that we're doing this? Because it's not just like a one-off decision. Like it's something you guys have been praying through for a really long time. So we're going to dive into all those things. Are you guys excited?
Yeah,
Are you
we're
ready?
Do it.
excited.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. First question. I think let's just start with the last thing I brought up because I think that's probably going to be most pressing on people's minds. When did you have the dream to plant a church and go off and do that? And then what has the process been? I look at Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron randomly, once I found out that this is something they were thinking of doing, I would look over at Aaron and just be like tears with their hands in the air during worship. And I was
Literally.
like, Aaron's going through something. They're going through something. So what is that? When did God kind of put that on your guys' heart? And then what has the process been like of deciding when that would take place and how you would leave something that you've been a part of for 10 years
Yeah.
to build something brand new that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
You want me to start?
You start.
Yeah. I'll literally start at the beginning, but I won't be too long. I grew up in a Christian home, but never really took my faith seriously. Got saved in college, met Jesus in college, and then actually met Jesus through a church plant. It was a Bible study at the time, but they were doing a Bible study, growing, accumulating people, and eventually turned into a church that, to my knowledge, still exists today, down in Richmond, Virginia. And so I thought that was really cool. Like, I know it sounds so naive. I never thought about churches starting. You just thought they just existed. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
And then I transferred. I went 2 years at VCU, then transferred to Southeastern University. I got like a degree in theology and was a part of this like preaching team, and would then just have conversations with professors about like, I'm very entrepreneurial. I love working for myself. I love new things, new ideas, new projects. And I had this one professor, Dr. Hemby, who one time offhandedly was like, I think you'd be really good at starting a church, or something along the lines of like, you should think of or consider starting a church. And I was like, that happens, you know? And then that was kind of right along the time when Elevation Church like was catching fire, and they were sharing their story of like, oh, we did church in like, it wasn't a funeral home. It was like a retirement home, like to start. And then to, you know, they just released their first album. And then when you think of worship, I mean, one of the things you think of is Elevation Church. Yeah. And so sort of there was this like sexiness and like appeal to it. Like, oh my gosh, these like passionate leaders who are like super creative and kind of redefining church, they're all starting churches. So I was like 22, 23 at the time, and was like, great, that's like what I'm going to do. I graduated from Southeastern.
Like you were set then, like you really thought that in your mind, in your heart, or you were like, maybe, or you're like, nope, that's what's happening.
Yes and no. You know me, I'm never like 100% on anything. Yeah. Like I'm doing 10 things at one time at all times. But I was like, that's cool. Like, I think I want to do that one day. To graduate from college, I had to do like a summer internship. And I did it in Cleveland, Ohio, the summer that LeBron left the Cavs and went to Miami, the summer of the decision. I'll never forget it. I saw like the jerseys burning in the streets, like all that stuff.
What?
Oh, dude, it was crazy. Yeah. Like,
and it was like intense.
Like you could turn in your LeBron jersey to like a restaurant or like a bar, and you'd get like 10 free beers, and like, oh yeah, like they hated the guy when he left.
Okay.
Yes. But I was like an intern at this church, and I thought I was going to be a youth pastor. And the guy kind of reached out. Well, he reached out and was like, hey, we had talked about me coming back. And I was like, God, you're really going to have to speak to me, because no offense, but Cleveland is not awesome. At least like when I went there. And he called and he's like, hey, I'm starting a church. Would you want to come help with that? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. Like I've always kind of thought about this in the back of my mind. I've had people kind of tell me it might be something I'd be good at. Like, let's do it. And there was always sort of this understanding that I wasn't going to be there forever. But I helped start the church, a group of amazing people. I think maybe right people, wrong place, wrong time. The church ended up, I think, closing after 2 or 3 years. I was there for about 2 years. I think it made it 3 years and then ended up closing. But through that church, we moved out to Colorado in 2012 to help start that church. And through the generosity of Red Rocks, I want to say they gave us money, they gave us equipment, they gave us musicians, they gave us worship leaders. Like Red Rocks literally like gave us their pool of volunteers to help us like start. And so I've just had experience in that. Like I kind of came to Christ in a very, very early stages of a church plant. I was involved in a church plant and learned a ton of what to do, a ton of what not to do. And I've just been entrepreneurial. So I would say probably for the past 12, 13 years, it's always been...
It's always been there.
Yeah.
We'll get to my part too.
Yeah, it's always been an idea that I've had in the back of my mind. Yeah. But I would say probably it was the YA retreat last year. I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody. Or I've shared it with you and with a few other people. I was in the little green room in the basement.
Crying.
Went into the bathroom. just to kind of like look myself over, brush my teeth or whatever. Because at retreat, I always do the Sundays, like close it out. And that, you're running on 2 to 3 hours of sleep. Yeah. And I was in the bathroom. I was just like standing there kind of looking in the mirror, like praying. And I don't think I've ever had a vision before. God gave me like a vision. And it was really quick. It was probably 5 seconds. But it was so crystal clear in my mind. It was me handing him a shepherd's staff and him taking it and saying, thank you. And I was like, oh wow, like I think I'm done here. Like all that I'm not going to tear up. It was so symbolic because we had been wrestling for a while for both good reasons and bad, like inspiration and faith, some frustrations, like all this different stuff. And we knew we were like, we are not going to leave here angry, bitter, frustrated. Like, God, we're here. We're not moving unless you move us in strength and peace and good relationships. And I just love it here. I've loved young adults. I love our pastors, Sean and Jill. I love my community, my friends. And so actually at retreat, I was in a headspace of, I'll probably be here another 4, 5, 6 years. And I just had this vision of God asking me for a shepherd's staff. And for a minute I was like, do you want me to like quit ministry? Is that, but then like very quickly.
Do you want me to make millions of dollars?
yeah. By working at Costco? No, like comparatively, no. No, I just knew God was like, it's time.
Yeah.
Like the mantle, I know this sounds spiritual. I try not to talk this way. It can sound weird, but the mantle, the anointing, whatever you want to call it, to lead at young adults had lifted. It was not mine anymore. I mean, it's never really ours. It kind of is, kind of isn't, but like God asked for me to hand it over. And so I was like, okay. And then I think we got back from retreat. We kind of got through the holidays and we started having those conversations with Sean and Jill. And yeah, I mean, how we landed on Austin is like a whole different story, but that is a long story version of how we kind of got to this place to where we are today.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So my version of it, and as you know, we've chatted about it, but like it's just a little bit different. It's been more of like a process into wrestling. I can't remember how long we were dating, but it wasn't long. Let's just say that it wasn't long. But Connor's like,
probably a couple weeks.
Hey, he
probably
goes,
like 2 or 3 weeks.
I really one day would love to plant a church, and I'm obviously like, if I'm going to be married, like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm out. Like, I'm out on that.
Yeah.
I literally looked him dead in the eyes. Like, I will never plant a church. I don't want to be like a lead pastor of anything. And we like broke up.
Wait, for real?
Oh yeah,
For real.
I was like, then I don't want to be with you.
and I still hold true to some of like the reasoning. I'm like, dude, we just started dating. Like, what's my middle name? what kind of hobbies do I like? You know, so
It was like he was telling you had like a kid.
Well, right. Like he was trying to be like, hey, I really see this in my future and I want to be upfront about it. And if you're not about that, then like fine.
Yeah.
But I was also like, okay, let's just like chill for a second. You know, like we don't have to have it all figured out.
Also, you're like, you love stability. You have a big fear of uncertainty. And so it wasn't just like we don't know each other. Like it was also like.
No, it was like, that sounded horrible.
Yeah.
Like who would ever do that?
Yeah.
And I was just dipping my toes into like serving in a church.
Oh wow.
So it was like, you want me to be some like lead? Like no.
Yeah, you had become a Christian like a year or two.
Yeah, like it was all a lot. And
how
so
do you see yourself as a pastor? As a lead pastor?
I'm trying to stop smoking.
No. So for me, it's been so much more of a process. So it was kind of like that into like, okay, no, this is like a dream on your heart, but I still don't really feel like that.
Yeah.
To like, now I have purpose in ministry. I always see myself like building God's church and working in vocational ministry. Like that's just like every time I've tried to like, sometimes he calls me Jonah. Like you just want to run from your call, Aaron. Like God's going to pull you back, and he does.
Yeah.
But it's been for me more of a process, and where I've really landed is like, for me, this is a step of obedience. And not that I'm not excited. I actually would say I'm more excited about it than I ever have been.
Yeah.
But it is like a step of obedience and faith. I love the local church. So I'm like, okay, like I'll try it. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like I'll try it. I'll give I love the local church. I love the Lord, and I trust my husband. So I'm like, okay, let's like try the dang thing.
Yeah.
But it has been much more of like a wrestling. And last summer I went to a counselor to talk about like, I am so afraid of doing this. My husband wants to do this thing that I am so scared of doing.
Yeah.
How do I like reconcile that? And she was so helpful. Just doing a lot of inner work of like, what are you so afraid of? And then I'm like, I don't know. I guess like, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
You know? So here we are.
So what was your bathroom moment? Your bathroom at retreat moment? Like,
oh yeah.
And what did you do when Connor was like, hey, I had this moment?
I know. Well, he's like, come into the bathroom. Come here. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like,
I'm
crying.
Like crying.
And he's like, I think God gave
from
me a
like
vision.
Sleep deprivation and half from this. And then like, I was like, because I can tend to lean on the very like practical side. Like some people are very charismatic and they see like a demon or an angel behind every corner.
Yeah.
I can lean to the opposite end of the spectrum where I'm like too practical and need to like come to grips with the fact that everything is spiritual. We live in like a spiritual world. And so part of me, like I have this clear as day. I know God spoke to me. Yeah. And then like 2 seconds later, I'm like, am I just tired? Like, did I just make that up? But do you know, like when you feel in your soul, you're like, no, like.
Yeah, well, it like keeps coming back. It's one of those things when you like read your Bible or you're like praying and it like keeps coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of those things that it was for me. And actually that same weekend, I was like, okay, God, like give me a sending spirit because I don't have one. Like praying all of these things, like God, give me like a spirit that wants to be sent.
Yeah.
And I think once I really started to like align my heart with like I could do something scary, because that's really more of what it is, the fear of it. It's not actually like I don't want to plant a church. It's I'm afraid to plant a church, and asking God to come into a lot of those like worries and fears and give like faith and vision, because I actually do believe in like the mission of Jesus through church planting and through planting local churches, and that actually does really excite me. So I learned a lot about like I don't not want to plant a church. I just am scared, and so like God help me in my like fear.
I feel like just as your friend, there's like been a shift in your heart towards it?
Yes.
When did that occur?
Yes.
Did that occur? It occurred after you were like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
For sure. What does that shift look like? Even just for young adults who like are trying to get their feelings to be there before.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we went to like a church planting training event, basically, where they have a lot of practical sessions. Like, hey, here's how you do this. Here's how you build a team. Here's how you fundraise. And it was there where I was like, oh, I see it, because he is so visionary. And that's one thing that I love about him, but also one thing that's like really terrifying, because he'll see things like years before I see them.
Yes.
But at that training event, it's very like practical, and that's just like
so
more
I'm
of how
falling
I'm
asleep and Aaron's coming alive.
Oh yeah,
They're
you want to die.
Here's like the first 3 steps of starting a budget, and I'm like, and Aaron's like eyes are like lighting up, and she's got like tears coming down.
I did. I was like, it was tearing down some of that like fear to me, because I am so practical. So I come more alive in like the activation phase where it's time to like do something. It was the ideating that was like, but now, as you know, we're in the process of like sharing this dream and like making it a reality. And that is where I feel like I come more alive. And so if you're listening to this and you're just like, wow, I feel like God has called me to do something, whatever that thing is, and you feel like there's like a big gap in between that thing and where you're like actually at, maybe in your heart, but you know it's the thing, I'm like, just lean into the process. And if you're a practical person like me, like maybe go have a coffee with somebody that's like in that field. Or like for me, it was like literally a training, which sounds like the least spiritual thing. But for me, it was actually like, okay, God, I'm going to trust you enough to lean into this process. And it actually like helped, I think, my faith and my heart like catch up to some of that vision.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, guys. Well, let's keep talking about this before we get into all the nuggets from 10 years here. How has the process been of like, because I think people are genuinely really interested in this, and interested in supporting you guys in prayer and in all the ways. And honestly, could see a bunch of young adults like driving down, just being like, hello. So where are you guys feeling called to? And then what has it been to like balance leaving something that you've built for so long? Like, how has that been for your hearts? Because that is like, being a steward is so humbling, because you're like, wait, blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then for something that doesn't exist. Like, how has that been? And then where do you feel like God's calling you? Why there? Yeah.
Oh man. So we're moving to Austin, Texas. Specifically, we want to, now we're going to walk through any door that God opens, obviously, but we're praying a lot about the South Austin area, East Austin area, and downtown. Talking to a really good friend of mine who lives down there, has a church down there. You might have heard of him. His name's Doug. We were talking with them, processing with Doug and his wife, Sam. They're some of our good friends. And one thing that he said while we were talking and processing was, like, we need some churches that are like for the city. He's like, a lot of times churches come here, they want to be for the city of Austin. It's fun, it's cool, it's big, it's growing, but with all that comes, like, it's really expensive. Yeah. And so with the best intention, they come, they start kind of close to downtown, they get sick and tired of doing setup and tear downs. They want to buy a building, God's blessing their church, it's growing, and so they have to move 20, 30, 40 minutes outside the city. Mm-hmm. They kind of become a suburb church, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But he's like, there's sort of this cycle that creates like a vacuum in and within the city of Austin. Yeah. That every so years they like gain churches and lose churches. And I know Doug and those guys are really passionate. I mean, they're like 10 minutes outside the city center, and they're really passionate about doing everything they can to stay there. I mean, but they're exploding. So they're facing this dilemma right now of like, it would be so much easier to go an hour north and build Dougland, or no,
yeah.
you know,
yeah.
Yeah, it's Doug's face as you like walk. No, I'm kidding.
There's enough room in Texas.
Yeah. But they have a heart for like the young adult, the student, the college student, the young professional, and so they kind of have the same thing. And so if God answers all of our prayers, we would be a church for the city. Our heart is to reach young professionals and young creatives specifically. Austin's a city booming with young creatives, musicians, artists, thinkers, innovators. They call it Silicon Hills. Like, all these tech companies are coming, bringing some of the most brilliant minds. Yeah. There's even like it's the new like capital of comedy. Like Joe Rogan, like all these different people live there. And what I love about Austin specifically is it's like what I would call, it's first tier in my mind, but I think we would call it like a mid-major city. Okay. It's not a New York and LA, Seattle, but I do believe that in the next 20 years, it'll be one of the most influential cities in the country. Yeah. And I love that. I feel, this sounds so weird, but I feel like my whole life I've almost been like overlooked in a sense of like too weird, too out there, too introverted, too whatever. And I mean, Austin's logo is or motto is like, keep Austin weird. Yeah. And I just relate to that. Those thinkers, people that ask hard questions, people that don't accept things at face value. I love that. I see so much of myself like in that. And we just love the city. I mean, it's just a place that we've fallen in love with about 10 years ago or something like that. So yeah, I can't even remember if that's the question that you asked.
No, it is. And I even remember when I went there, you were like, here's 18 restaurants you need to visit. And I was like, oh, Connor's pumped about this place. Yeah. And no winter ever again, Aaron, for you. God bless.
I know.
Give
me sun year round.
But I want them, I don't know if you don't have to talk about this, but I love to, at the all staff where you guys shared that you were leaving, what you had shared about your brother being kind of like the like building a place that like he could go to and not feel like he couldn't have questions and he couldn't be where he's at. Do you mind sharing a little bit of that?
Yeah, I can share that.
Sorry, I didn't prep you for that.
No, it's okay. Hopefully we just don't make this like an Instagram clip or something like that.
No, we don't have to.
Yeah, so long story short, a few years ago, my brother is he doesn't live in Austin, but he kind of embodies that spirit.
He's like a singer, songwriter, musician. Yeah. A little like stick it to the man, but he's like, he's just like a creative. That's like, I don't want to like.
At his core.
I don't want to fit them, like before creatives are cool.
Okay, fun.
Like it's kind of trendy to be like a creative now. Like, I think it's something weirdly in our gene pool because it's something like our daughter has, like Ezra, where it's like, do not put me in a box. Yeah. Like, that has just been something my brother and I have had since birth.
Yeah.
And even almost more so in him.
Yeah.
For
but
sure.
yeah, so we were home for the holidays. It was either Christmas or Thanksgiving. It was a few years ago, and he called us in and was just kind of talking to us about where he was on his faith journey, some of the things that he still believes, some of the things that he no longer believes. And essentially I'm sitting there and I'm like, I think that, to no fault of any pastor or anybody like that, there are answers my brother is looking for and wrestling with that are only found in the person of Jesus. And yet, for some reason, the way the church has presented itself has seemed too closed off or boxed in to allow a space for somebody like my brother to come with honest and open questions, fears, reservations, frustrations, and to feel like he could bring the fullness of his creative genius and have it celebrated in a church and not, what am I trying to say? Like trimmed down and molded into what a worship leader, a creative should look like in a church.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a fear that if he were to bring his originality, it would just be standardized and manufactured into what is and not what could be in the future.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't think it's a mystery. I love the church Mosaic.
Yeah.
I love Red Rocks. I love Mosaic. They're kind of our two North Stars when it comes to like maybe the heart and the spirit of what we're doing. And I'm obviously outside of the Bible and Jesus and all that. Just a preface, because you'll have somebody, some turd that's like, no,
Your North Star.
Yeah. But like I think we just want to create like a really like original, authentic, and artistic space to maybe reach people that feel like if they're going to follow Jesus, they have to conform to something that isn't authentic to them.
Yeah.
And now I want to say that obviously when it comes to following Jesus, there's a call to die to yourself. So there is a conformity all of us have to make. It's dying to ourself and carrying our cross and becoming more made into the image of Jesus. But what really like gripped me was that is the most life-giving experience a person could have. Yeah. And for some reason, my brother didn't interpret it that way. And so how do we create a space where somebody like him who's searching for, I think John Mark Comer said, he coined the phrase like, people are looking for the kingdom without a king. Yeah. They want hope. They want love. They want faith. Like, these three remain: faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. That is what every human being to some degree in their soul is searching for. They're searching for meaning. They're searching for purpose. They're searching for a reason to believe that tomorrow is going to be better than today. And they're searching for a place where they can be, fully known and fully loved. Yeah. Where they can be known to like their deepest core. And that's just the space that we want to provide. We like our moniker, Jesus is our main story, but our moniker is to be a people of faith, a voice of hope who are known by love. Yeah. I think that's something people look for and that the city of Austin needs. And just to be clear, we're not coming thinking that we're going to be the spiritual heroes of that city. No, yeah. Doug and those guys, Celebration Church. There's so many people doing amazing work, and one church never wins a city. But I think we're excited to maybe join in the spiritual conversation of that city, bringing our perspective to what that space of faith has been.
Yeah,
so, it's good.
I can think of I don't know. I think sometimes churches can get weirdly competitive, and I'm like, why? Like, there's what % of Americans actually going to church?
I know.
Very small. And so my hope and prayer is that actually there's a lot of churches with a lot of different DNAs that I can think of 5 people that I love that don't know Jesus that would find themselves in a church that you had just described that you want to plant that would find Jesus there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for me, when you even shared that story, I was emotional in the audience because I was like, I can think of 3 people I know in Austin that would like show up to a church like that and find Jesus and feel like they're seen and known and like they didn't have to change the core of whom he made them to be.
Yeah.
So as your friend, I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And pumped. And I'll come visit. And yes. But yeah, be praying. If you're listening to this, be praying for the Grimms and what God's going to be doing in that. Let's do a really hard pivot because mostly because I just think, yes, there's so much wisdom. They could go back and listen to podcast after podcast that you guys are both on that have a ton of wisdom for young adults and for people trying to authentically follow Jesus. But I'd love to I asked like a few questions for you guys to prepare, and it's going to probably be really hard to try to like hone in all like that you've learned in the past 10 years about Jesus, but like nuggets of wisdom to give to young adults in this season of their lives. But Aaron and Connor leading the internship, leading YA, if you could give like 5 nuggets, it doesn't have to be 5, but if you could give a few like not final words, because in my heart, you guys are back out here, again.
Yeah.
But just for this podcast, just things for young adults to cling to in their 20s as they seek to follow Jesus in the world that we live in. Is there anything that like rises to the top for you?
Yeah, I just had a couple. I saw your notes and I was just like, bam, bam, bam. They're not profound, but they will change your life, I think. So I had like follow Jesus, of course, like wherever he tells you to go, like go and do it. Follow Jesus. Invest in friendship. Friendship is what I always say is like the richness of God in my life. If you have good friends, you'll have a full life. Friends that have wisdom and fun and life. So follow Jesus. Invest in friendship. Work on your character. I think that's like one of the most like underrated things in your 20s. Like do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of
Be
times
a man of God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott Brugman, one of our favorite people in the world, pastor, mentor. He would just you'd always be like, what do I do? And he'd just be like, be a man of God.
Yeah.
Be a woman of God. Like what would a man of God, what would a woman of God do?
Yeah.
But I think so, like in my 20s, I'm like, well, I don't know sometimes.
Yeah.
Or even now, like
Yeah.
I want to do the right thing and I don't know. And one of my favorite sections in all of scripture is when Solomon, who's like the Bible says is like one of the wisest people ever. He is literally like asking God, like, God, give me wisdom because I have so many people to oversee, or I have so much in my life to figure out, or whatever. And he asked God for wisdom, and God like literally gives it to him, gives him wisdom to discern what the right thing to do is. And then he adds like riches and da-da-da and da-da-da. And so I'm like, if there's one thing you could ask for in your 20s, ask God for wisdom to do the right thing. Yeah. And when he tells you what the right thing is, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's hard.
Even if it's hard.
It always will be hard.
That's the title of the podcast.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Can you really quick before we go to Connor speak to friendships and like the richness of friendships? Because I feel like that is your thing.
It's my thing. I don't even know where to start with it, but I don't know. I think obviously God created us to like be together and live in community together. But I think, I don't even know. It's just, what would you say? Like, why is that such a thing in my life? It's just like it's like the favor of God in my life. I have like some of the best friends and the best community that I feel like really know me. Like I truly feel like there's nothing hidden.
Yeah.
And that feels so good. And that's also like an investment, like I take time to invest in my friendships and helping my friends out and sacrificing and showing up and being there. I think I really, if you're like, I don't have some of those friends, work on being that friend. Like, are you creating environments where you are opening up, or do you just want people to open up to you? And then on the flip side of that, like, are you opening up too much and you're just like dumping on somebody and you're like not a joy to be around?
Yeah.
But I think like that's what the church has like always been built on, is like when scripture says they will like see how we love one another. Yeah. And I think that is in like deep relationship, trust and vulnerability, and just like kinship. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know why God's been so good to me. He really has, but it's something I pray for my kids. I'm like, God, give them like amazing friends and let them be an amazing friend.
Erin's greatest struggle is that everybody wants to be her friend. No, I'm kidding, but it's true. You're a girl's girl. Everyone wants to be your
I
friend.
know, it's fun.
That's good. Okay, thanks. There was a quote I just read where it was like, somebody's like, it takes a village. And they're like, where's my village? And it's like, you're the village. Like,
Yeah.
go help someone move.
Yeah, go
like,
yes.
Yeah.
go be
Yes.
the village.
Yeah.
Come help us.
Good.
move. No.
I will. Go help us move.
Yeah.
Connor, what about you?
Oh man, nuggets. I would say that, not to plug my own Substack, that's selfish, but I actually, on my actual 10-year anniversary working here, I just had a moment, took some time and wrote down 10 thoughts. So I'm going to pull from this a little bit, but if I were in my 20s, really kind of like some wisdom and guiding light that I wish I would have leaned maybe more into. Perfect churches don't exist, but healthy ones do. I think it's really, really trendy right now for people to attend multiple churches, kind of pick at the flaws of some, and not grow roots in churches. And there's nothing wrong with like attending multiple churches, whatever, volunteering, serve, like whatever. But like, I think we do it out of a like preference sometimes, and not out of like a heart of like serving the body. We
Yeah.
can mask it as that, but sometimes it's like preferential, and it's impossible to grow deep roots. Like if somebody gives you a plant and you're putting it in a different pot every other week,
It's good.
it's impossible. It's going to die. It's going to end up withering, even though it's technically being watered and been given sunlight. You're ripping and removing its foundation constantly. And so
That's really good. Can I speak to that for a second?
Go
Too?
for
Just
it.
adding on to that. A couple of, maybe even like when we first were married, I was like, I don't know if I want to be at Red Rocks anymore. Like, I just have these preferences, essentially, is what I was saying. Like, I want worship to look like this, and I wish we did it like this. And, you know,
Yes.
it's like the
Yes,
classic
yes,
thing.
yes.
And I am so glad that I didn't just jump ship on my preferences.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt the Lord really, really, really strongly be like, where do you believe in the mission of the church?
Yeah.
Because I was wanting to be like, well, I really like how this church presents such and such. And I don't think that's wrong. I still think a lot of those pieces are like beautiful, and we don't do them here at Red Rocks.
Yeah.
But I felt God be like, what mission does your heart feel aligned with to like go after people? And so there are a lot of things we do here that aren't like my preference. And I work here and love it here and have been leading here.
Yeah.
But a lot of things I'm like, I prefer something else. And I think it's actually a spiritual maturity to be like, I am here to serve my church.
Yeah.
And sure, there's like your community will serve you in a sense, but your primary thing is, I'm going to my church to worship God and serve people.
Yeah.
And then my preferences fall further down that list. And I do think it takes some sort of spiritual maturity. And God had to kind of convict me of like, oh, Erin, those are preferences. Those are not like scriptural things. Those are not doctrinal things.
Yeah.
And so if you're wrestling with like, what church do I invest in? Don't look at what do you like the best.
Yeah.
Go and see what the church, and churches are doing amazing, beautiful things in different ways. What mission do you really like, and let your preferences die to that mission?
That's so good.
Yeah.
That I think helps people weed down. Like, when do I leave? When do I stay? Like, how would they find out that mission? Just like if they're church shopping, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think all of them start to sound the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All the missions.
Yeah.
I think churches are pretty. I think you can figure out the mission of a church pretty. Like not easily.
The
but
mission
you can,
of a Christian is always the same.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think that's
you
where it
know.
gets fuzzy for people, because it's like you go to a church and they're like, we want to reach people. Well, so do we. But like, I think, listen, some churches exist to for lack of a better term, like be a quote unquote seeker sensitive, to bring people into God's kingdom, to introduce people to Jesus for the first time. Some churches exist to disciple Christians. Obviously, every church strives to do all of it and do all of it well. I mean, that's the call of a church. But some churches are just blessed in different areas and have different leans. I honestly believe some churches are blessed in the capacity of like worship, and they're like they're churches where Christians go to like worship. I think you have to define what mission you align with in the context of the mission Jesus has given everybody to go and make disciples, seek and save the lost.
Yeah.
So I hate it when churches are like, well, we're here to save the lost. It's like, sure, like every church, every Christian is like, but I will say that there is a blessing on some churches to do that more than others. And there's a blessing on some churches to disciple Christians more than others. And there's a blessing on some churches to create worship and like more than others. And so I don't think it's wrong. The older I'm getting, the more I think like, well, it's just because a pastor hasn't figured out how to do it all well. I am becoming painfully aware how not due to lack of care, but how singularly minded and focused our church is going to be. Some people are going to love that, and some people are absolutely going to hate that. And I don't care. Like, it's not for you then. Like I said, there's so many churches in Austin. I heard a pastor one time say you have to care more, and this sounds controversial, but I actually believe this. You have to care more about the vision God has given you than the people. Here's why. Initially you're like, well, what the heck? Like, church is about people. Well, church is about God first and people. However, if you compromise your vision to appease people or gain people, let's just say in attendance, then your vision will have to always be changing based on the new person you're trying to appease or the new person you're trying to get in your door. If you're committed to your vision, you're not going to reach everybody. But that's okay, because that's what the church down the street is for, and the church 20 minutes away is for. If God has given you a vision, you have to stay true to that vision, because I was in a church a couple weeks ago in LA, sitting in a church that was so distinct and so unique, uncompromising on who it was and the vision that it was called to carry out. And in that, sure, you saw a lot of young LA creatives, but I remember seeing this like 75, 80-year-old, kind of chubby, like grandpa, beard, bald, but wearing like a fisherman's beanie, covered in tattoos. And what God really like showed me was like, this guy, this 80-year-old, needed the vision of this church to connect with Jesus. I think oftentimes when we think of like, well, we're not going to compromise on our vision, it's because we want to be the young, trendy, like cool, whatever. No, God's given each leader a vision for what he has called that church to be, and they'll give an account to God if they stayed faithful to the call that God had placed in their heart. But I think like, so I don't even know how we got on this topic, but I think like if you are true to the vision, you will not be for everybody. And that'll be super frustrating. And that might mean there might be a growth capacity. That might mean there might be, sometimes we judge churches based on their size, like, or whatever. Like, I believe the churches that are most influential are the ones that are committed to the vision God's given them, and they allow the people that don't align with that vision to go to other churches. And that's called the body of Christ. That's why Denver needs 30 churches. That's why Austin needs 30 church. Like, every city needs multiple churches playing their part to reach the city. And
then the eye doesn't say to the foot, I don't need you. And the ear doesn't say to the mouth, I don't need you. Or you can like collectively be like, oh, we are the body of Christ, and you're doing your, oh my gosh, you're the mouth. I see that. I'm so bad at doing that. Where are the ears?
No, Well, and this is a valuable thing for us to be talking about, because I hear young adults all the time comparing and competing churches. And it's like, we can't discuss the DNA value vision of another house without putting another house down. And it's really narrow thinking, actually. And it's kind of an insult to the variety of God and all of who God is. And I'm like, and I think the enemy would love for us to like fight against each other and compete and try to change and try to
Yeah.
be somebody that we're not, so that we can lose focus on
Yeah.
what God has called us to be. And so I think that's really liberating, probably for a lot of people to hear.
And I think the more involved you are in your church, the more it gives you the capacity to have grace, because you become less of a consumer, where you're not just shopping, well, I like these shoes better than these shoes and these. But if you are actually in charge of making those shoes
Yes.
and helping like craft them, you're like, oh, we really have tried to make this shoe more comfortable, but it's this and so, like, the more you're in it, the more you can be like, okay, these are preferences and I can let them die. But if you are like, well, I like this over here and this over here, you're standing at a distance. And the closer you get, you actually have to call it yours. And then you start to be like, oh, I see that this is harder than I thought, or it's just not connecting with our vision, or whatnot. I do want to share one little piece of thing. I was in a really hard season of ministry, and I heard a teaching pastor. She is amazing. Her name is Jill Briscoe. Have you heard of Jill Briscoe?
No. Okay.
She's amazing. She's older. She might be in her 80s. She preaches the house down.
What? Gotta find
And
I think I know who you're talking about.
yeah, I'll show you
You
her.
showed me this lady.
Yeah. I just didn't want to be where I was at the time. So this is like, this could be church related, this could be job related, this could be whatever. I didn't want to be where I was because it was hard. That's why. Not because I didn't believe in the mission, but because it was hard. And she preached this sermon, and it is one of those things that just sticks. And she said, go where you're sent, stay where you're put, and unpack like you're never going to leave.
Wow.
And it almost like the weight of being like, I was sent here. I know I was. And it's freaking hard.
Yeah.
But go where you're sent. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm here. And she's like, stay where you're put. You're not going to remove yourself. God's going to stay where you're put and unpack like you're never going to leave. And I think so often, like, we want an exit strategy to things that are hard, even though God has called us to them. And it's like, go where you're sent, stay where you're put, and unpack like you're never going to leave. Like, you could be there forever and
That's so
unpack,
good.
baby, and set your belongings up
Yeah.
and grow deep roots.
Yeah.
And that message, like, truly changed my life.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay. And it's almost more freeing. Sometimes we get in this headspace of there's so much, and it's like, just what is the last thing God asked you to do?
Yeah.
And do it.
And I'm glad you heard that message. When did you hear that message?
2018.
Okay. And then
No, 2017. Yeah.
right after you guys took over the internship and YA and all those things,
Yeah.
how have there been moments where you're like, I'm glad I unpacked because this has gotten harder, or you know what I'm saying? I feel like you guys, 10 years at Red Rocks, you've seen the worst of people, the worst of systems, the best of people, the best of systems,
Yeah.
both on a staff, and out in the lobby, or, driving on the highway. Like, it's people. How have you guys navigated those seasons as leaders? How have you remained faithful?
I think you first have to decide we're here. Like
Yeah.
Aaron said, like, it's so easy for quote unquote God to call you somewhere else when somebody gets up in your business or has a corrective conversation or challenges your leadership style. It's so easy to be like, God's calling our family to another church, another whatever. And that can sound noble in the moment. It'd also be a sign of deep unhealth. I think you have to really decide we're here. And if we're here, then we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
We've got to fight with people that we love. We've got to support people that frustrate us sometimes. We've got to, but when you make up your mind, like she said, like, we've unpacked. And that's part of what makes moving so hard, is that, like, when I first got here, I had an exit strategy.
Yeah.
And God, I think, wouldn't let us move until I gave that up. And I wish I could say I gave it up, and then 3 months later he's like, all right, that was just a test, move. No, we sat here and we thought we were going to be here for a lot longer than we are.
Yeah.
But I think to deal with the high highs and the low lows, you just have to decide, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. If it gets messy, I'll get messy. I'll get messy with as much character and integrity. I don't mean get messy as in like gossip and
Yeah.
do all the things the Bible calls demonic. Like, I mean, like, I will, with as much it is under my power, have the highest level of character and integrity. I am going to fight for unity. I'm going to fight for this place. I'm going to fight for my friends. And I just think God blesses that, you know?
And when we haven't fought for unity, I can specifically think of a time where I was really upset and I was actually corrected by a leader, and then I got more upset.
Yeah.
Like I was like, you know, you're not seeing it right. And actually what God led me to was the scripture was like, the rebuke of a righteous man will be like oil on your head. Other, like also meaning like healing, like this will be like healing to you. Wow. And I was like, okay, I can take this offense that I think I have at, I don't know, 25 years old, and I can storm out of here and say, nobody gets it. I know better. And that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. That's what I like deeply wanted to do. But it's always like, but God convicted me. Yeah. And in our moments where we haven't done things right here, I feel like God has been so gracious to be like, if you stay and if you take correction and if you will be willing to, if you will humble yourself, I will pour oil on your head. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, I'm so grateful that you directed me in your kindness against my own stubbornness, that you would pour out your healing, protection, and provision on me if I did submit or if I did prefer somebody else's opinion or leadership or whatever. And I think this was like 2 weeks ago. I was journaling about, we're in a very reflective season. Like we're excited for what's next. We feel full of faith. It feels fun and adventurous and exciting. And yet we're reflecting on what God has done and what our deep roots here. And one thing I really felt strongly that the Lord said to me was, because I was like, all the things I've learned, and I was just, journaling them. And I said, God, thank you for teaching me how to stay when I wanted to leave. Yeah. And how to leave when I want to stay. And I think that is also just like that kindness and like protection of God in this like past decade of our life. We have lived under the faithfulness and provision of God that when I wanted to leave, he's like, I've got things to teach you. I want to heal you. I want to protect you. And then when I'm like, oh God, I feel so protected and loved and safe, he's like, ooh, time to be sent, girlfriend. And I'm like, ah! But I'm just like, he's so good in it. He's so good in it. And so if you're in a season that you know it's what God has for you, but it's hard, like let God work some of that out. Or if you need to be sent and it's hard, go where you're sent. Yeah. Stay where you're put. Unpack like you're never going to leave.
That's good. That's our next merch drop.
Ask Joe Briscoe. It's not mine.
Yeah.
That's so good, Aaron. Guys, okay, we have like 5 more minutes or maybe a few more minutes left. The last thing that I just would love for you to share, I feel like we have a lot of people that feel called to like leadership that listen to this podcast. I think just by nature of people who listen to podcasts, I feel like, do you have any just last lessons or last thought, which you basically have already shared, but anything that pops into your mind about like leadership and whether you work in a church or not, I think all Christians are called to be leaders. What's something that you could leave with somebody of like, this is like a core thing I've learned about how to like lead people well?
Oh man, I would say for people striving to be leaders, I've had 2 thoughts that immediately popped in my mind. You can work the system, obtain a title, but not have leadership, because leadership comes through character, not through like a title or a position. Yeah. You see it all the time. You see so many people with titles that don't have leadership equity. I say that to say you can build leadership equity without a title. And the best hires are the ones where you give somebody a title who has leadership equity. Yeah. You build leadership equity by loving your enemy, serving, like building, doing the things behind the scenes that nobody sees, that only God sees, that then he rewards in public. So I would say if you want to be a leader, don't worry about being seen by the right people, noticed by the right people, in the right room. Maybe that's just like an insecurity that I've like wrestled with, is like, I'm introverted. I know I can kind of be weird sometimes. I can be in my own head. I like to paint. That's not like super cool in like a lot of like guy pastor like circles. I like to write. And I just always felt like I'll never be a leader because I'm never in the right room, seen in the right light. And I really can say, who knows whether this succeeds or fails, but I know God is sending us to try.
Yeah.
And I believe it's because God, against my will, often taught me what it meant to be a leader, and that was building character when nobody was looking. I've never been perfect, far from it. But I would say you don't have to have a title to be a leader. Leadership is always equated with character. And you can always be building your character. And then hopefully one day I'll write a book on this. I've preached on it a little bit, but it's just continually been like blowing up in my heart.
Yeah.
God gives dreams, and then there are seasons and times in between dreams. When God gives you a dream, be ready to go into a season of obscurity where you feel like nobody sees you, nobody knows you, you're constantly being overlooked, because it's in obscurity where God gives you identity, where God gives you a sense of self that only comes from your relationship with him.
Yeah.
And when you know who you are, and when you know who you are in him, you can then step into any room confident of the call and the dream that he's placed on your life, because you're not looking for identity affirmation from other people.
Yeah.
But then after identity, or after obscurity, I think we're kind of in the middle of this a little bit, comes resistance.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be thrilled for your dream.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be thrilled you want to be a leader, a CEO, a pastor, whatever. You will face resistance.
Yeah.
And in that season is when God gives you the opportunity to build character.
Yeah.
Identity is who God says you are, but character is who you are choosing to become.
Yeah.
And character can only be exposed or formed when you need a reason to have character.
Yeah.
When somebody's gossiping and lying about you, and you can either go right back at them or keep your mouth shut. Like, let an offense pass. When your plumbing breaks, and it would be really great not to tithe that paycheck, but are you going to have character and tithe, or are you going to use that money? Do you trust that God's going to like provide? Character is only exposed and formed when you have a reason to need it.
Yeah,
and the reasons you need it are often when you're facing resistance, when you're butting your head up against a wall. So don't be surprised when God gives you a dream, a vision bigger than yourself to be a leader, and then you go into obscurity. You feel like nobody sees it, agrees with it, even understands it. Then you face resistance and you feel like something is actively fighting against it, because on the other side of that is breakthrough. And then with breakthrough comes stewardship.
Yeah.
It's, can I steward this, or am I going to allow this to become my identity, to then compromise my character? It almost kind of works in reverse, where the dream then becomes your identity. And then guess what? God loves you so much, he'll send you into another cycle of it. But that's what I would say. Like, don't allow your character to be what you build your leadership on, not who you know. And listen, networking isn't bad. Like, I'm not saying any of that is bad or wrong, but the core of your leadership needs to be your character, and then allow God to give your identity and build your character in those seasons where nobody's looking. Because I promise you, one day people will be watching.
Yeah.
And you can either be exposed, or you can be a light that leads people to Jesus. So
yeah, guys, I appreciate your insight so much too, because as someone who knows you, I know that it's like hard fought. Like, you're not just speaking as people that like, oh, I heard this thing once. You've lived out this, and these are hard fought lessons, revelations that each of you have over a lot of years. And so I just, when you guys do share, I'm like, man, that was hard learned about both of them. And so I appreciate it. I want to end by saying a million nice things, but I just feel like
don't roast us.
Honestly, I could.
I
for
would
so
be loved
long.
that way.
I don't have anything
Another
mean because I'm feeling sentimental. But yeah, I just want to say thanks. Yeah, I was in your first intern class. Good times.
That's
guys.
right. Yeah. COVID.
2020.
Yeah. The COVID class.
There were some dark days, but no, I've learned so much from you guys, and it's been an honor to be somebody who gets to catch the things you're saying right now just by watching you live and embody them. And so I just want to end with a quote from Connor's Substack.
Oh my gosh.
But I love it. You end your 10 years and your 10 things you've learned at Red Rocks Church with Jesus gave his life for his church. What an honor it is to play a small role in doing the same. And so thank you for all your sacrifices here. Some of which, like, there will be fruit far beyond your presence here in people's lives and in this ministry from your faithfulness. And then also for stewarding this so well and then handing it over and then going and starting completely over with a dream, that is on your heart.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to see what God's going to do. And I know for you right now, it probably feels like we're excited too. And our plumbing just
anxious.
broke.
Yeah.
But pray for the Grims, you guys, and follow along on, I don't know, you're gonna post about all the things as you plant, right?
Yeah,
Or does your
Yeah,
church
we
have
shall.
an Instagram?
We're working on
We're
it.
working on it. We do have cornerstoneaustin.church is the
Okay.
website for our church. And then if you follow me or Aaron on social media, we'll be posting a lot about it. So,
Cool.
and yeah, when we have our Instagram handle and Instagram up and running, then we'll let people know.
All right, sweet guys. Love you a ton. And anything else you want to say?
I don't know. It's been the best 10 years of my life. So excited and grateful to be able to be, just a small part of your guys' spiritual story. So
Yeah, we love you guys.
All right, love you guys. We meet on Thursdays at the Lakewood campus at 7:00. So come visit us. And then we are a room in the house of Red Rocks Church, and we meet at all of our Denver-based locations on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday at 5, Sunday at 8, 10, and 12. And we have our young adult retreat. We have our young adult retreat
It is
coming up.
a treat.
It is
so
a
you
treat
should go.
that you will retreat at, and apparently the bathroom is like a really holy place where God gives visions. So, so sign up for that. We love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
bye.